Yeah, nothing throws off your routing like a late hammer.
Yeah, absolutely. Throws all of things. So, Uncle on his way out. The first item we'll be finding in just a few minutes. Scaryolive wearing the Samus Zero skin and Sonic in the traditional Link. So just a 5 bomb capacity upgrade. Nothing too exciting to start with there. As we make our way down to the well here, we'll get a look at the first weapon of the seed.
Oh, how about that? You were right.
I was feeling it. I had a feeling. Now, an interesting kind of thing here, an interaction, so to speak, is that 5 bomb capacity upgrade actually gives them 15 bombs at the start here instead of the 10. So that little bit of a buffer might actually be very nice for the runners. Additionally, one of the nice parts about getting bombs is they're not going to have to worry about finding any bombs along the way.
Yeah, I guess I've never gotten a bomb out of that first chest before. I didn't realize that it just completely filled your bombs and just give you 10.
Yeah, I've seen it once before, and it was surprising at the time because I was under the impression that it was as if it was giving them that 10 bomb drop, but nope, that is not the case. Or maybe that was the intention, but doesn't seem to be what happens. So we're gonna see some strats here on this first blue guard. Sonic choosing to go ahead, take intentional damage to get that second bomb hit. Scary having a little bit more trouble.
Oh, that kind of nicked him right there.
Mm-hmm. And of course, to come away from the first room there, another chest with bombs in it. So that's 2 bomb chests and a bomb capacity upgrade here in the escape sequence. It's a little bomb heavy.
Yeah, just a little bit. Hopefully they don't have too much trouble with the key rat and get to keep one of those bombs for escape.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, Sonic gets a little bit of trouble. Picks up a piece of heart here in the second blue guard. Scary just playing it safe here, making sure the guard stays trapped in that, and accidentally walks into the explosion, taking an extra bit of damage there. Both runners kind of at less health than you'd want to be at this point. Sonic has got to be very careful that he doesn't get caught by one of these guards before he gets a chance to pick up these pots, but all is well. So I have to say, 3 minutes, 20 seconds have at the rescue part of Zelda. That's a really decent time for bomb strats. Of course, escape sequence is always kind of an interesting thing to watch how fast runners can make their way through. But the bomb start, especially when you don't pick up any secondary weapon along the way, is one of the slowest beginnings, simply because you have to wait for your bombs to go off. Even if you have perfect bomb placement, there's just that extra delay that is unavoidable. So we'll probably see something like a 6.5 minute or so exit from the sanctuary. And now in the dark part of Escape, just as I'm sure everyone is aware, but just to recap, the lantern light that they have right now is temporary. It's provided on all standard randomizer openings just to make sure that you don't have to navigate these rooms in the dark. But as soon as they exit Sanctuary, they're going to be on their own for the dark rooms. They'll need to find the lantern if they don't want to have to navigate and sequence break the dark areas of the game. And we're now in what is probably the trickiest room to bomb strats, is getting this bomb rat, or this key rat. And sonicam takes 2 bombs to do it, picked up an extra big 20 along the way, but has safely navigated the most challenging part. It's going to have at least 7 bombs heading into Kakariko Village, and that's a really nice place to be. We'll see what they find here. Looks like 2 big 20s and a map. And I perhaps spoke too soon at the slightly longer Sanctuary, because Sonic has got out of here in about 6 minutes 10 seconds. That's really, really fast for bomb start. So sonicam's choosing to go directly into the Lost Woods. Did not elect to go up to take a look at the Lumberjack's house. Scaryolive, on the other hand, is going to head north immediately. So we're getting a small bit of route divergence here. Sonicam going to give us the first look at the tree pole. It's just 5 rupees each. That's not bad, but certainly not the best thing. And 50 rupees there at the mushroom spot is nothing to sneeze at. Getting a little bit of money setting up for that inevitable Zora's waterfall check and buying from the bottle vendor, so very useful. Another 20 rupees here in the bandits hideaway. Sonic doesn't choose to pick that up. So Scaryolive gives us our look-see here in Lumberjacks. Doesn't seem to be anything exciting. And now the runners are heading into Kakariko Village. Sonicam's going to get there first. So Sonicam in Blind's Hut now. Gonna get a look at the first 5 items here. Kakariko Village having so many good places to look. Lots of goodies to pick up. Turns out he's gonna get 5 rupees from the first chest. There's a sword, so fighter sword and a full heart container to go along with it is actually very nice. 50 more rupees, bringing his total up over 200. So he's in a healthy amount of money at this point. And another capacity upgrade here in the back of Blind's Hut. So nothing amazing, but happy to see that weapon. A long swordless run is actually quite troublesome. He's going to move along to the well area while Scaryolive is now entering Blind's Hut, so he'll be picking up the same things. And 5 more items down here in the well typically means that we'll have another good chance of some good items. Just some bomb replenishment, but that's probably pleasant to receive at this point for Sonicam's side. He was down to 5. There's the flippers, so water access fairly early on is pretty nice. Another capacity upgrade, and the cape, which is a dreaded item, may be a signal that we might have an Agaseed coming up on things. The cape is one of the items that will allow you to pass that energy beast. Moon Pearl there, though, is a nice thing to find because, of course, necessary for Dark World access. So they're just the lantern away from being able to go up Castle Tower. And a second heart capacity upgrade here in the chicken coop.
If I go through escape and 2 of the first progression items I find are the cape and the sword, I'm very concerned about the Aghanim possibility.
Yeah, it is certainly one of those things that that really is kind of nerve-wracking. I must say, I don't know why, but I personally hate having to do Castle Tower.
I mean, it can be kind of fun to execute sometimes, but yeah, when you have to keep on doing it for like Forest Dark World progression, it can get kind of tedious, especially if they don't find a better weapon than the fighter sword.
So we did get a glimpse of something blue on the library thing. I believe it was the flute on the library shelf. So gonna hope to find boots relatively soon. Sonicam's going to check what's going on in the map, sees that it's blue mail, and chooses to save and quit. Not gonna pick that up, at least not at this time. Hoping for armor later. Sonic really wants to go fast, is willing to sacrifice some item pickups for that, and that's interesting.
It is interesting, but I'd imagine that, you know, if you've won 6 matches in a row, you're confident in your ability. You probably aren't going to spend that much time looking for the blue mail, whereas someone like you or I might take that extra few seconds to have that extra safety.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Now, it turns out that we got a little bit of a map check there. We see that the Eastern Palace is actually a pendant. The other two were crystals. Desert Palace looked to be a 5/6 crystal as well, so that's exciting, interesting. Scaryolive also choosing to forego that blue mail. Meanwhile, Sonicam picks up some interesting goodies there from back at the Harshless Hut. Silver arrows.
Yeah, but way more excitingly, the shovel.
Well, that could be anything. And this is an interesting divergence. Sonic has chosen to go kind of a different route to start things off. Meanwhile, Scaryolive's going to do the more standard South Lake Hylia into Mini Moldarm Cave.
Yeah, you don't typically see Eastern Palace before South Shore, but he may be thinking since Eastern Palace is a pendant, he may be able to get all 3 items and never have to worry about this location again. So there's some logic here.
Yeah, and you know, sometimes it's either going to pay off or you'll end up breaking even, just changing the order up of what you're going to do. So it could be a benefit. It's unlikely to be too painful if you find something else in these typical Mini Moldarm locations, just because you know that you'll be heading there next. So it's not like anything is going to delay you from finding from making these checks, I would imagine. Little Scary takes care of those Mini Moldarms and finds a big 20, 10 arrows, more money, another piece of heart, and some more bomb capacity. So really, a very dud Mini Moldarm cave there. And Scary's choosing to make use of these flippers right off the bat. Gonna go take a look at what's going on the Lake Hylia Island, and probably follow that up with a check at Hobo before heading over to Ice Rod Cave. Now, Sonic, on the other hand, has picked up a really great item there out of the big key chest in Eastern Palace, so paid off big time, grabbing the mirror. And with Scary knowing that Eastern Palace is a pendant, maybe some time before he heads there.
And Sonic just made a really interesting call there to go into the dark room in the back of Eastern to pull some rupees. I've never seen that room done in the dark before.
Mm-hmm. So that's a pretty big advantage on Sonic's side of things, just from having made that play. It'll be interesting to see if there's no progression available to Scaryolive along the way in the checks that are available, then perhaps he will be forced into Eastern Palace, but this might be one of those key moments in the game. And happening very early on is quite exciting. Sonic doing another road less traveled item check here. Let's see if this one pays off. Gonna go take a look at what's going on the desert ledge, and then I would assume follow that up with a Gina's Cave check. The first one paid off for him, so if this one also does, that could be a tremendous advantage that he's getting at this early stage in the game.
Yeah, indeed. With how little these runners have found so far, I would not be surprised to see something of value in this cave.
Well, Scary's going to go ahead and check the Waterfall of Wishing. Since you've got the flippers, you might as well. Doesn't have the 500 rupees necessary to hit up Zora, but you never know what you'll find. There's the Power Glove, so that's a pretty nice item to locate. Meanwhile, Sonic just gets 20 rupees for that Agina Cave check. Didn't pay off, but 1 out of 2 isn't bad. And Scary sees that there's a piece of heart up there on the Zora ledge. Not worth going for. Sonic, again, intentionally bypassing the mini Moldorm cave. Looks like planning on going to some of the ice rod check perhaps, and maybe doing all the waterfall things first. And Scary is going to go into Eastern Palace, or at least check the Saharshala Hut checks.
And you can kind of see Sonicam taking the time to farm some extra rupees off of the crabs, and that might actually be smart because I think we've checked everything in Logic so far, and I think King Zora might actually have something.
Yeah, that is true, and there are some good sequence breaks that could be made. We could head up Death Mountain with the mirror. We could go all the way up to Tower of Hera. Would just be a single sequence break of that dark room up Death Mountain. And I have to believe that the runners will do everything in their power to avoid that castle tower, at least as long as it's reasonable. And that is a fairly straightforward check that might actually end up paying off tremendously.
Yeah, exactly. Once Scaryolive gets some of this Eastern play, he will be able to sequence break up the mountain to check out Tower of Hera.
Oh, well, their bombos I missed earlier on the hobo, so that's a nice find as well. 1 out of the 3 medallions already located. There is additionally, as chat reminds us, the dig game, or the dig spot.
Oh, that's
so
correct.
potentially something good there too. So Fighter Shield picked up by Scaryolive now. And although they do have the ability to, they're still waiting for that lantern. Sorry, I was going to say they do have most of the ability to enter Castle Tower. That lantern is the signifier that they have to go there. So it's really not a race. Like it's not that either of these runners are trying to avoid it at this point. The logic hasn't told them it's where they should be going.
Yeah, that'd be an extremely bold play to do the Castle Tower dark rooms.
Yes, I don't think I've ever seen anyone attempt it. At least not in this tournament. Some of those narrow bridges would be some next level play if they manage to pull that off. So Sonic now going to pick up his Power Glove. And that really leaves just Dig Spot as having to contain some progression. I don't believe there's any other chests, and or Zora, of course, because that is one of the kind of oddities of Randomizer, is that the Zora, King Zora item is always in logic once you're able to reach there, but the game doesn't necessarily give you all of the money that you'll need to do it. It does assume that you'll have it, or you'll just have to farm for it.
Yeah, the logic always assumes that you have 500 rupees, so...
So just 20 more rupees there in the dig spot, which really means that it's farming time if you don't want a sequence break. And I'm curious to see what Scaryolive decides to do.
It looks like Scaryolive is going to go down, and there is that one cave that has like 50 rupees that you can just go back and forth from before you go to Agnes Cave. So I think that's the play that he's making right now.
Meanwhile, Sonic looks to be heading over. He's got bombs out, so he might be trying to hula-hand. Or he could be sequence breaking up Death Mountain. Looks like it might be playing the hula-hand check here by bombing himself into this hole. Oh, Scary also had Agina's Cave still.
Yeah. But yeah,
So,
at least I was just going to say, at least they got gloves. That makes farming for rupees a lot easier than their previous item setup.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's enough rupees now on Sonic's side, so I can imagine that he did that in order to go check Zora. He's actually not that far away, which is also kind of a nice thing. He's going to be able to jump in the water out and take a whirlpool down. Scary, in the meantime, looks to be perhaps doing the exact same play. Has the bombs out, but no, instead, gonna head up Death Mountain, so a little bit of a divergence here. Now, if you're the runners, I would imagine you're hoping to find something like boots here at Zora, so that you would have access to the flute, which would unlock the Death Mountain in logic for you, and potentially open up some new items, instead of finding the lantern here at King Zora. Boots would also open up a couple of additional doorways. And look at that, Titan's Mitt. So there is your Dark World access. And it'll be very interesting to see what Scary finds up here on Death Mountain. So piece of heart to get started with. Sonic, meanwhile, is going to head directly into the Dark World, start looking at places like the Village of Outcasts, and if Thieves Town is a crystal, you can bet that that will be one of the first places checked. So on top of Spectacle Rock, we see 20 rupees, and underneath it, we find just 5 more to go along with it, so nothing to write home about. Unfortunately, Thieves Town turns out to be the red pendant, green pendant over in Palace of Darkness, and a 5 crystal, I think, in Skullwoods. Yes, a 5/6 crystal in Skullwoods. So both runners now in the Dark World. Scaryolive kind of got there in a slightly different path than you would expect, but doesn't really have Dark World access yet. First item out of Skullwoods, though, is the powder.
And that's a really interesting find, considering that they do have logical access to it with the mitts and the mirror, to the magic bat.
So there's 300 rupees, and that's probably feels really good on Scary's side. Just knows that he's got that Zora money now, and I can guarantee you, if nothing else pays out here on Death Mountain, he'll be checking that. He'll be checking the Zora location first before starting to go into Castle Tower. Now Sonic is going to show us that, hey, you can make this room a lot easier if you just bombos these Gibdos.
Yeah, that room can be super annoying to deal with if you don't have anything to kind of get rid of everything else in there.
So just a compass, though, so not what you're looking for. And with that, all of Skull Woods that's accessible for our runners right now has been checked. And Sonic's actually looks like Sonic's gonna head over to Bumper Cave, perhaps. Yes, and has the cape, so there is the potential for that to be something useful. And I believe we'll follow that up with a check into the Graveyard Ledge. Definitely an interesting time to route this, but certainly pretty good. At least 2 checks in the overworld. And when you find an early mirror, it does kind of give you a little bit of a impetus to check those mirror locations. Well, at this point, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was just going to say, meanwhile in Tower of Hera, Scaryolive found the map and the compass, so he's really going to be hoping that Moldorm has this second item for him.
Yep. Graveyard Ledge not really paying off here for Sonic. Now what's interesting is that you can actually get to the other side of the Dark World right now. Since we have the flippers, our runners are able to swim across, but they just can't get back without through the Dark World. They'll have to mirror over and travel all the way back to the Village of Outcasts to get there. So they actually have full access to the Dark World at this juncture in the game. So since Scary is hanging on to the key, if this is an item, nope, basement will be required. And we're getting our catfish check now on Sonic's side. And I'll be curious to see if he follows this up with a... Nope, he's going to... Oh, maybe? I was going to say I was curious to see if he would follow it up with a check down to Pyramid Ledge. But choosing instead to save and quit, going to head back to Village of Outcasts side of the Dark World.
And that makes sense. With that, since they had to go to Zora to get progression, there's really no better time to route in catfish. So I understand why he went over there.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Scaryolive does pick up that first crystal. So, going to have to head back at some point to check that chest out. But has to be pretty happy with, you know, considering this seed, getting a crystal dungeon out of the way fairly early on.
Yeah, you got that crystal, and depending on how you want to look at it, that 300 rupee drop is more or less a required item.
Yeah, considering it was necessary for him to find in order to get this Zora check out of the way and pick up those Titans bits. So Sonic now going to give us the first look at the items here in the Village of Outcasts. The chest game provides just an arrow capacity upgrade, nothing too fancy there. Heading over to the C-shaped house. for just 50 rupees. And Sonic was heading into Thieves Town. Decided, you know what, I'll check the brewery first. Hey, maybe it'll have the hammer. And turns out it's just got 20 rupees. Now, Thieves Town is a pendant dungeon, but with 4 items to be had, and the first 4 chests so easily accessible, it's a pretty good bet that you're going to find something useful here in this dungeon. So first chest turns out to be the small key, which not the item you're trying to find, at least not this point in the game in the dungeon, because it does mean that you might need to head over towards that big key chest, and without the hammer you can't get it. Third chest to the front part of Thieves Town. On Sonic's side now is another 20 rupees, so...
Yeah, just 20 rupees and 2 items in the first 4 of Thieves Town. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me that he's continuing.
Yeah, there isn't very many other places. He could go and do Jeremiah and the south part of the world, all the way down to Hype Cave, so there is a lot available. But he wants to hang into this pendant dungeon for now, and we'll see if it pays off. Scaryolive leaving the... Ooh, we're gonna get a mirror bonk there. Oh, looks like deciding to go pick up that blue mail after all on Scary's side, so...
No, that makes sense. Thieves Town is not a fun dungeon to do when you're on this low health and this low armor, so yeah, picking up that upgrade if you do intend on gambling Thieves Town, that's a smart play, I think.
Mm-hmm. And Jeremiah acquired. Unfortunately, not going to be able to do hammer pegs at this point, but still nice to tie this in with your powder check, the Mad Batter. Oh, but Scaryolive hasn't gone into Skull Woods yet, so has not acquired the powder.
Yeah, Scaryolive seems to be making the overworld his priority for now, not being able to complete Skull Woods and Thieves Town being independent, so we'll see how that powder plays out.
Yeah, and I can't say I fault this. It's a pretty good idea. There's a lot potentially to happen here in Hype Cave coming up on Scaryolive's side. Since nothing else has been that exciting, there's a lot of opportunity for Hype Cave to actually be hype. Sonic just pulling out the insurance there, using the cape to make sure he won't die to blind, and acquires the red pendant for 10 arrows. Thieves Town not paying off entirely.
And also worth noting, there is an item locked behind Hammer in that dungeon that sonicam had to leave behind.
Yes. So, Scary now, continuing on this stealth check, stops by Stumpy and gets 3 bombs. Certainly not what you would hope to find. Cave 45 check. Coming up, and it contains 3 more bombs.
I have to think at this point we found all of the all of the bomb drops.
I feel like we've found quite a few, that's for sure. Scary now going to, let's see if he takes this purple chest all the way over to Hype Cave, or if he stops by Gary to get that lunchbox checked earlier. Looks like he's planning to go lose this follower as soon as he can. And 100 rupees hiding there. That's a pretty decent amount of lunch money, but not exactly what they're looking for at this point. Now, Sonic's going to be able to actually check the magic powder here after he finishes with the Jeremiah blacksmith. Picks up his red boomerang. And Scaryolive is on our way to Hype Cave, so let's cross our fingers for a truly hype cave. It has been some time for me, but since I've seen one that I would call glorious. Scaryolive
Keeping us in suspense, man.
mirroring for some reason, forgetting that nope, Hype Cave is in the Dark World. And meanwhile, Sonic's gonna give us that mad batter check.
No, he's just building suspense. He kind of figures that maybe there's actually something in here for once.
So Mad Batter pulls out a full heart container. Scaryolive gets a piece of heart. There's that lantern. And 2 red rupees. So Hype Cave falling a little flat. Lantern is nice, but not really massively rewarding for the runners at this point.
It is a fire source, however, and there is an item locked in that Tower of Hera basement.
That's absolutely true. Scaryolive may actually be going right there right now. Nope. Gonna head to do some more Dark World checks. Meanwhile, Sonic has taken this lunchbox all around the world. Into the light world, back to the dark world. It's following him everywhere. Now, Scary's gonna go and get the chests in Skullwood, so that'll net him the magic powder, probably leading him back to the Mad Batter, which will just give him that full heart container. And the runners are fast running out of places to go, really. They're going to have to start finding some progression sooner rather than later. Sonic's going to have a little bit of an advantage in that if Tower of Hera basement is an important item, he's going to get that on his first go-through because there's no way he's not going to hit Hype Cave up as he's taking this lunchbox on a trip.
Yeah, I'd imagine that'd be his next play too. Because right now, I think the only other location that he would have in the logic are the Pyramid, at least one chest in Palace of Darkness, and most fun of all, there's at least like a couple chests in Ice Palace that these runners have access to.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. There's not even all that much in, Swamp Palace. They need the hammer to get more than the first chest. Palace of Darkness and Palace of Darkness could be, for all they know, bow locked. So they're really running out of places to go.
Yeah, they really are. This is a tough sea to try to figure out.
Yep, Pyramid Ledge is accessible through a very circuitous route. But as tough as it is to follow, it's incredibly linear at this point. There isn't very many options for the runners to choose. They're basically being led around by their nose, and you can't even be like that lantern. Really, it's surprising. Usually, you find the lantern and you think, oh, all sorts of goodies are logically in play now. Sonicam sees that lantern and goes, all right, well, I guess I'm going up Death Mountain, but that's really the only dark area that it gives them access to that they haven't already checked. And Sonic is going to go and take a peek here at the lumberjack house. Is this something necessary? And we already knew that it was not.
Alright, Scaryolive continuing. I'd imagine he's going to be going down to the pyramid.
Yeah, and that's a check that I'm very interested to see how it pays off. And I'm wondering, even if it doesn't, to follow up with perhaps the first parts of Palace of Darkness will be very telling. Now, Palace of Darkness is the green pendant, so it's not even a crystal dungeon, but since it's not completable at this time anyway, you can't really fault the runner for going into it, or in the hopes that it isn't bow locked. They don't even have a bottle to try to get around and glitch around a bow lock. And as chat points out, Agate doesn't unlock anything except if they manage to acquire both red and both of the red crystals, and can't get a bomb here without doing Aga 1. So there is still a very minuscule chance if Hammer's a pyramid fairy thing.
Yeah, we need to find the fire rod and the boots for that to become a reality.
Mm-hmm. So Pyramid Ledge turns out to be a fat lot of nothing. And Scaryolive is going to give us our peek into the Palace of Darkness. Now, the other place that that could be important at this point is where Sonic is now. We do know that he will eventually acquire the small key necessary to go into the basement. And that could very well be an important progression item, since Scaryolive was without the lantern when he cleared Tower of Hera. We do not know what's there. So, moment of truth here for Scaryolive. Is it bow locked? The answer is no. So there's more action to be had here in Palace of Darkness. That's a good thing for him. So our second fighter sword troll dorm of the day.
And Scaryolive making the decision to skip the vanilla vacate chest to go to the backup pod, which we've seen time and again in these randomizers, usually holds us out.
Yeah, it's a fairly safe bet. Obviously, the seed can't get you stuck. So chances that there'll be, well, Cane of Samaria here is very nice. A useful item, but certainly not anything that, any type of progression for them at this point. It's not going to be beneficial for either runner. But Ice Rod, again, good to have. And that's two important required items here in Palace of Darkness. Just not particularly useful right now. And the compass there in the harmless hallway. So Scary's gonna head to the dark maze, take care of these two chests. Doesn't have the big key yet. Well, freshly acquired.
That's a pretty generous commentator's curse right there.
So far, I'm 2 for 2. That was bomb start, and now that. So I should be careful with what I say. There's going to be hammer, vanilla hammer, right? Yeah, that's what we're all thinking.
Yeah, possibly. Oh, and that's very important on sonicam's side.
I must say I missed it while watching Scaryolive pick up that big 20.
Those were the boots.
Oh, there they are.
Yeah.
So that was a big miss there on Scaryolive's side. The boots, of course, are going to immediately unlock the flute. And the runners are aware, but Sonic's going to go ahead and check King's Tomb out first. It's the one item hasn't been able to acquire along this north route, along with Bonk Rocks, where I'm sure he'll go next. Just a 5 rupees there in King's Tomb doesn't help too much. So now this means that if Meyer is Bombos, that Palace of Darkness Cane of Samaria is going to become incredibly important fairly early on as the next potential dungeon.
Yeah, indeed, because if Meyer is open and sonicam chooses to go in there, that would be a double dip that he wouldn't have had to do.
Mm-hmm. Now, even be that as it may, there's a very good chance that you would go to the Meyer area just to get access to Desert Palace, which now you should be able to full clear, and the Checkerboard Cave and Meyer Shed item locations. So this find really opens up the world for them. Unfortunately for Scary, he's going to go through Thieves Town, which we know does not pay off. Second pendant dungeon for him. And Sonic is going to play us a jaunty tune. Although, unfortunately, we are not going to hear it.
I mean, at this point in the tournament, it's just always playing in my head on Eternal Loop, so...
I've heard it enough.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting that they acquiring, like, at about 48 minutes of getting the boots, which opens up the world significantly to the runners, because they've done so much in the most tedious of way, like trudging back and forth across the map, that really isn't that many new locations that this is opening for them. But this Meyer Shed and Checkerboard Cave check, along with Desert Palace, is one of the larger concentrations of items available.
Look like Quake for Meyer, so we're spared from that for now.
Yes. Oh, hookshot in Meyer Shed along with Quake.
So now we have a pretty open world.
Yeah, that changes a lot. That also puts Death Mountain, both dark and light sides, on the map There's a lot of items to be found there. Really, this seed seems to be pulling the runners along. Hammering in checkerboard. Wow. The Mire area is stacked. I imagine Sonic's gonna just go ahead and deal with Desert Palace because why not get that red crystal out of the way? And we're really at a point now where we can start contemplating the necessary items for go mode. Not all that much is really required all of a sudden. Just the bow.
Yeah, it's the bow, the fire rod.
And that's, I think, it. There's the bow in desert.
Jeez.
So this seed is starting to open, like unravel is the best term I think for this. So fire rod, and since we know where ice rod is, to go along with it, that gives the Turtle Rock and Cane of Samaria in Palace of Darkness. The runners are awfully close. We are 1 item away from no mode, and Sonic is 2 items away from go mode. 3, I guess, technically.
Yeah, man, Scaryolive was probably feeling okay about the Tower of Hair play after finding the 300 rupees, but once he finds the boots and once he finds how much the boots have been gating, he'll be depressed.
And not just, like, of course, most progression items do gate things behind them, but this is like 4 important pieces of progression in, like, the span of 3 minutes found by Sonic as a result of finding these boots. They also will need a Master Sword, at least. Thank you for pointing out. There was a race earlier this week where that ended up being a very important factor. In fact, one of the runners ended up going all the way up to the Ganon fight without the Master Sword, just on Fighter Sword alone. Did not find a sword upgrade in all of Ganon's Tower and had to start looking elsewhere. So the real question now is going to be for Sonic, when do you head to Palace of Darkness? The bow really might be leading him towards Eastern Palace of Darkness play, though. So that might have been a very fortuitous find here in the desert. As I was going to say, that's a hard call sometimes to make, to go into another pendant dungeon.
Yeah, especially when you have 2 crystal dungeons completely open in Swamp and Ice Palace.
Mm-hmm. Now, it doesn't really matter. If he goes to Swamp and clears that out, that's a perfectly good thing to do. But it would be almost beneficial for him not to go there next, simply because there's an opportunity to maybe get to go mode parts of that dungeon, and that's one of those things that go mode Swamp is much faster than a full clear. It looks like he's actually going to go into Misery Mire here, or at least open it up. You know, the logic of finding the medallion right here, I can totally see why you might choose to do that.
Yeah, exactly. It does make sense. You're in the area, you have everything that you need to, like, completely check it, but yeah, we do know that this is going to be a double dip for Sonic.
Yep, there's no doubt about it. I could find the fire rod here. And unfortunately for Scaryolive, until they head back up to Tower of Hera, they're going to be in a really difficult position. Sonic managing to find all the keys, it seems, here in Misery Mire. A dungeon where you definitely don't really want them.
Oh dear, is Scaryolive going to Swamp Palace?
I don't really know. It's hard to... Checking that first chest in the hopes that it's something that will pay off. Sonic finally finding the big key here in Misery Mire doesn't really help. It's not what you want. Fire Rod is the one we don't know yet. And yeah, it looks like that's the attempt that Scaryolive is going to try to make here. Sonic cleans out almost all of Misery Mire, just haven't a cutscene yet. Still looking for that second item. Meanwhile, Scaryolive is opening up Swamp Palace to take a look at that. Technically the second chest, I guess. First chest, of course, is always a key. So, moment of truth, is this an important item? If this is something like Fire Rod, then it means that Sonic is naturally going to progress to it once he picks up those two items. Nope, it was not. And the vanilla big key chest here in Misery Mire holds just the map.
It looks like Olive's going to start dipping Ice Palace here.
Yeah, there's really not much else for him to do until he pulls the trigger going back to that missing spot. Meanwhile, Sonic has got all of Death Mountain now to check. Finding that hook shot allows for pretty much everywhere except Spike Cave right now. Not technically in logic because we don't have Half Magic or Cane of Burna. Or a bottle with some magic repelling or magicking repairing power in it. I just gave up.
Oh yeah, I feel it. Words are hard. Words are hard.
They are. They're so challenging. So first two items here in Paradox Cave is a full heart container followed by a bottle of red goo. So not a bad find. Sonic will be able to now check Spike Cave if he wants, either by making use of the cape along with a life refill. A couple of pieces of heart here in Paradox. There's the third one. A second bottle of red goo and a third empty bottle. So,
Right, apparently that's where all the bottles were.
somebody uses this as their glass blowing workshop, I guess. I'm not sure.
Yeah, guess so.
Sonic gonna go ahead and get a first try bomb jump to head up Paradox Cave towards the top of Death Mountain. We'll get our first look here as well at the required medallion for Turtle Rock. If it's either Quake or Bombos, the runners are in a good spot. Otherwise, they might need to pick up either medallion at some point. But we see there on the floating island just 3 bombs, so that's not going to be a place that either runner will check. And 20 rupees there at the bottom of Spiral Cave. Done the way it was meant to be done, with the boots. And now for the Dark World side. So, Super Bunny Cave now. Just 3 bombs and 20 rupees, so nothing too exciting. Next place we'll be going is Hookshot Cave, with 4 items to locate there. Taking a little detour first to see that Turtle Rock is in fact ether, so we will have to find another item. Don't worry, it's going to be here in Hookshot. Just like Misery Mire had Quake right outside it.
Oh, and Olive can't get that chest. Oof.
So Hookshot Cave doesn't actually pay off. Yeah, and it hurts to run out of magic powder, especially when you're really struggling. Now it looks like Scaryolive is going to go up to get that chest out of Tower of Hera now. And that's going to actually be a blessing in disguise for him. He may not know it yet, but it's absolutely what you want to do.
Yeah, and I have to imagine he's figured out that his progression's here.
So just 20 rupees there in Spike Cave, no help. And the longer it takes, the more pressure Sonic's going to have to head into Palace of Darkness and to Eastern Palace, which is going to work out well for him. He's activating the flute and looks like he's going to go ahead and pick up some blue potion to go in one of those empty bottles. Oh, just green instead. He's got 2 reds and a green, so happy with the amount of magic he has. Oh no, I'm going to refill right off the bat. Sonic going to go ahead and show Sick Kid one of these miraculous bottles he's found. And Sick Kid's like, here, have a piece of heart. Or a full heart. And Sonic is going to choose to go and finish off Ice Palace before going anywhere else. I like this. Going into dungeons that you can full clear that are crystal is always the right choice to make.
Yeah, exactly. You know that the crystal itself is a progression item, so if you can get something else along the way, that's a pretty good bonus.
Yeah, and with that purchase of a bottle of blue goo, without a doubt, Sonic's going to be able to complete all of the chests here in this dungeon. since he has the hammer, he will be able to full clear it.
Speaking of that hammer, that might be important for Cold Stare because we are still an hour and 5 minutes in.
Yeah, Fighter Sword is plaguing runners today. Yes, Bombos, getting old gamer, Bombos is one of the potential logical paths for clearing out Ice Palace.
Yeah, there are some pretty icky situations that the logic can put you in terms of boss fights. Like, we may also get some fun... Well, we have Silver Arrow, so we won't get a Force Fighter Sword Vitreous, but... Yeah, but don't let that dissuade you from playing the randomizer, because, like, it's still super fun. There's a lot of casual modes, so, yeah.
I mean, you can even get the glory that is required bomb strats Vitreous. We've seen that before.
I've
had
done
to do
that
that
before. It is the worst.
And Scary is now gonna head to the Misery Mire area. First thing that typically you do when you pick up the flute, just because of the location and the proximity to so many chests, and it's gonna find all of the goodies and feel even more frustrated about not having those boots right off the bat. So picked up the hook shot, now going to find the bow. So we're gonna look here at this chest that Scaryolive had to leave behind. Turns out it was simply the compass. And now we'll see shortly if Ice Palace pays off. So Sonic now heading down to Cold Stare.
This is definitely going to be an interesting boss fight coming up.
Gonna have to be making use of the hammer strats, I assume. And it's very interesting where Sonic's gonna go next. I have to believe that it'll be Swamp Palace, but you kind of want him to go to Palace of Darkness first, just to have a little bit more knowledge. Wisely choosing a red potion instead of a blue potion there. Not using any magic power at this point.
I kind of like Scaryolive's side, going for Ice Rod strats and remembering, oh yeah, I have silver arrows. And pretty solid hammer fight from sonicam, unfortunately only giving him the crystal.
Yeah, Ice Palace, all done. Still, both runners coming out with a crystal at this point. Sonic the 4th, and just the 3rd for Scaryolive at this point. Now Scaryolive will find... Oh, hey, look, a hammer. And I'm curious to see if Olive decides to go into Misery Mire like Sonic did, or instead go elsewhere. Now, of course, with the Cane of Samaria, Misery Mire will be a single drop, a single dip for Scary. And there's really no reason to avoid it at this point, except for the fact that, you know, it's a little low on health, but a little bit lower on health, I should say, than Sonic, but certainly doable.
Yeah, he should be fine. He does have the powder if he finds himself in a scary situation.
That's right, of course. So now the question is, are we going to find Ether or the Fire Rod or both here in Swamp Palace? Or something completely different? We'll have to see. So, Cane of Samaria and what else was there? Ice Rod
the Ice
are
Rod.
both in Palace of Darkness. And Sonic did go into Misery Mire, but does not have the Cane of Samaria yet. So, while he's full cleared everything he could, gotta hit Palace of Darkness up first before he'll be heading back there to finish off the dungeon. So we're seeing some new territory here on Sonic's side. These chests have not been opened by either player yet. And there's a Master Sword upgrade, so there's another required item out of the way. It's got to feel good to finally get that. Also makes things a little bit easier for the inevitable Argus fight that's coming up. It's a lot less fun to try to do it on Fighter Sword or the slideshow mode that is switching to Hammer.
Yeah, no mini boss today.
Sonic going to go ahead and clear the full left side. I like doing this, especially when you have boots. Makes things a little bit faster. Some runners have been going to the backside first and then only coming out here if necessary. But I just feel that the chance of this being important when you have so many items missing, as Sonic does, is you're probably going to have to come back here no matter what. You're not going to find everything you need at the bottom part of Swamp. So the only time it's maybe worth skipping is if you're down to 1 or 2 items required left. There's a tempered sword upgrade, so 2 swords here in Swamp. That's not bad.
Yeah, I would say left side's already well worth it with that sword find.
And the big key as well, so you won't have to come back a second time.
Yeah, that is kind of the best case scenario for left side first.
Mm-hmm. And tempered sword really just makes the rest of the seed much easier, all the way up to and including the Ganon fight. Tempered silver is just an ideal situation. Obviously, butter sword would be nice, but not necessary. And now in the basement of Swamp Palace, we're going to find 2 more chests in the next room. Just a single rupee and 300 to go along with it.
One of the more interesting pairs of chests I've ever seen. Nice contrast.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's the Ether Medallion, so that's access to Turtle Rock as soon as we find the Fire Rod. As well, getting through those 2 sword upgrades means that all these Argus Puffs are single swipes with the sword. And Scaryolive showing us just how easy Vitreous can be when you have silver arrows.
Yeah, there's a reason to spot the silver arrows in the vanilla game are locked behind this boss. Oh, there's our 4th sword.
Wow. So, Misery Mire and Argus not holding the Fire Rod. Or sorry, Misery Mire and Vitreous not holding onto the Fire Rod. Neither is Palace. So there is, of course, also the possibility that Fire Rod is in. I don't know if we got everything out of Palace of Darkness. There are some chests that we couldn't access, or that Scaryolive couldn't get to, so it wasn't keeping a good count of all of the items.
I think that he got 4 items out of Palace of Darkness, maybe 3. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, and so there could be some. It could have been extra fat loot dungeon. We'll find out in just a few minutes, as I believe that is where Sonic's going to head now. There is also the possibility that the first item in Turtle Rock is the Fire Rod, or a key that allows you to progress through, and finding the Fire Rod a little bit later in Turtle, though nasty is possible.
And of course, there is the possibility of our dear friend, the Master Sword pedestal.
Yes, that is absolutely true. So at this point, I think Sonic's going to go through Palace of Darkness fully. Find a few great items to be sure, but then I would be surprised if he doesn't just go ahead and enter, unless he finds the fire rod. I'd be surprised if he doesn't just go ahead and do Eastern Palace while you're there. It's relatively quick. Just has to kill Argus or Armos Knights, and head directly up to the pedestal after that. So we're going to find out relatively soon, because the first chests that Sonic's going to open here are ones that we haven't seen in Palace of Darkness. Meanwhile, Scaryolive is opening up Turtle Rock.
Wait, except he can't because he doesn't have
Kane doesn't have ether.
Yeah.
Was checking it though. So just keys. So with a plethora of keys, Sonic's going to go ahead and get to the vanilla key chest, big key chest. So Fire Shield, another item from this dungeon. So Sonic's going to get a little happy to see this Kana Samari here. Knows that this Palace of Darkness play has paid off just from that item alone. And will be even more happy in just a few moments when he picks up the Ice Rod here.
Yeah, indeed, you're always happy when it's not an Ice Rod Go mode.
Yeah, that feeling of having to go through Turtle Rock without the Ice Rod, hoping beyond hope that you'll find it along the way. Especially when you get to like Laser Bridge and it's the last chest there and you're like biting your fingernails.
Exactly,
Will this
yeah.
be it? So I think it will behoove Sonic to actually clear both of these dungeons just in case. He's right here. It is adding time, but there is a better than, a fairly decent chance that he might need these pendants. He'll certainly want the green pendant to exchange with Saharshala. I would assume, since you're right next door.
Gave it a second thought, and he's going for it.
Yeah, I mean, even if you don't want to commit to a pedestal check, grabbing the pendant for Saharshala is just absolutely. It's worth it just because you're already here. And he knows that there's not much else left that he has access to outside of Turtle Rock.
And I think Scaryolive is just straight up gambling pedestal.
Yeah, they're actually he must be the plan here, because he could go into Swamp Palace and Ice Palace to finish them off, but he's already dipped them once, and seems reticent to go back. I'm not sure exactly why.
I think it may be a bit of metagaming. Like, I think he knows he's behind given where the boots are, so he probably thinks his opponent went through, like, already full cleared Ice Palace and Swamp Palace. So if he can go mode those 2 dungeons, that would give him some advantage after falling so far behind. Unfortunately, Aether's in Swamp Palace, so...
Yeah, that is just that's the harsh reality sometimes when playing Randomizer, that you try to game the system, and sometimes it definitely pays off, and other times it can actually come back to haunt you. Scary is just kind of going down the wrong path here, at least for what his immediate needs are. So Helmstar King just holding on to a map here, but that green pendant may be what's important. Now, Sonic's going to go check Saharshala out first before committing to Eastern Palace. Or maybe not. He maybe has no intention of doing Eastern Palace at this time, but... just 20 rupees off Saharshala there. And he pulls out the flute. So Sonic's not willing to commit to a ped check yet either. He's going to go deal with the end of Misery Mire, which makes absolute perfect sense. And it'll end up having both the last 2 dungeons that he needs to go into, both being Fire's Rod blocked. Although there is potentially some action in Turtle Rock to be had without the Fire Rod.
Yeah, there's at least 1 chest in Turtle Rock. They do still have that 1 chest in Thieves Town left. That would be pretty bad.
Oh yeah, that's also accessible for both of the runners at this point. I wonder when you route that in. It may actually be after Misery Mire before heading up to Turtle Rock. The fewer times you can climb Death Mountain, the better. It's a long path up there, and there's no shortcuts to be had. So a lot of runners really try to minimize their time heading up that mountain. And yes, Graveyard Ledge was checked fairly early on. So there are not very many overworld checks available to the runners that haven't been visited. At least by one or the other. And it'll be an interesting question to see if Sonic decides to go up to Turtle Rock without checking the pedestal first. It's really like you're trading 1 item for potentially 1 item in the hopes.
Without the book, you can't actually check the pedestal.
Well, you can blind pull it.
Right. Oh, sure. That's what you... Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Okay.
Grabs his butter sword there. He must have known, keeping count, knew that there was an item there, not the one that he wants. But again, a completed dungeon is never a bad thing. Just Turtle Rock and Skull Woods to go, and since they both are waiting on the same item, we know that they won't be checking Pyramid Fairy. Sonic is actually going to go ahead and do Turtle Rock, it seems. And this will be another potential double dip that he'll have started. So, time for the rock. Scary, on the other hand, is committing to this pedestal. And this could be a turning point for the game if it does pay off.
Indeed, this has been a long twisting seed, and it's, you know, Scaryolive may be able to bring this back if the pedestal gamble's right.
Yeah, gonna be able to go mode Swamp Palace. You know, obviously, probably would have preferred to pick up some of the swords, but
Well, he'd still need to pull the ether tablet out of Swamp.
oh yeah, that's right. So he is still a little ways off. So Spike Cave, or the first chest here in Turtle Rock, does not give them the fire rod. It is 300 rupees. So while it pays off, that changes the calculus for Sonic significantly. He's going to go and check Thieves Town's big key chest, and Scaryolive is heading up to check the pedestal. So who will be correct in this particular situation? Or will neither of them, and will it be somewhere else that we have all forgotten? Let's get a little hyped up there in the chat, because it's not often you get to see a blind pull that might actually matter.
Oh,
there's
hammer
also
pigs!
hammer
We did all
pegs.
forget about hammer pigs. I think
Hammer
I was the blind
pegs.
pun this seed.
It was the blind pun this seed. So Scaryolive acquires the fire rod
There we
from
go.
the pedestal. Amazing item for him. So now that does, oh, it's Sonic unfortunately getting a fetch quest out of the hammer pegs. What's he gonna do with this now? That means that Scaryolive still has to go full clear Swamp Palace until he gets the Ether Medallion at the very least. That's a significant time sink. Also, gonna have to walk all the way through Ice Palace again to finish that off before heading up to Turtle Rock. Now, choosing to go ahead and deal with Skull Woods right now makes absolute perfect sense. Could have done it a few moments ago if they had brought the Dark World with them to the pedestal check, but
Yeah, and that fire rod that they pulled on the pedestal may lead them to an Ice Palace full clear, so really hoping they go to Swamp, but ooh man, they have a lot of choices all of a sudden.
yeah, it's anyone's game right now. Is as long as Sonic doesn't, Sonic's going to go in and do Thieves Town. Unfortunately, it's not going to pay off. As the longer it takes Sonic to go deal with Eastern Palace, the more time Scary has to catch up. And it is very close, ladies and gentlemen. This is not... This is a hold your breath moment, really. Yeah, on top of the... Like, of all things, the fetch quest really messing with Sonic Cam's progression.
Yeah, though, at least he routed in the fetch quest kind of intelligently, like leaving his portal in front of Thieves Town so that he could come back. I mean, they're both not the correct plays, but at least he's being wrong as fast as possible. That's what you want to see in this situation.
Yeah, Scaryolive just getting bodied by spikes and by the Mothula. Got to be a little bit careful there. Oh, 10 arrows in the big key chest there in Thieves Town. Not what Sonic wanted to see. He's mirroring out, and if he heads over flute-wise to Eastern Palace area, then he'll be back on the right track. That is the plan. And so, as a result, I'm going to say at this point that Sonic is in a very good spot. He is going to acquire the Fire Rod, and then immediately go into Skullwoods, finish that off, where at the same time, Scaryolive is going to has to clear 2 dungeons, and although he could be clearing them relatively quickly, is still searching for that Ether Medallion. So the time that this is going to take Sonic is, I would say, somewhat less than the time it'll take Scary to full clear these 2 dungeons, or at least clear these 2 dungeons.
And worth noting, Scary just opened up the Pyramid Fairy, so that's something that's available to him that sonicam won't have to check.
Absolutely, yes.
So hopefully he goes down. Go down, Scaryolive, go down.
Nope, he's going up to
yeah.
that fairy. He's really hoping for an opportunity to go mode these dungeons. He must be feeling that that's literally the only hope he has. So at this point, Sonic safely still in an advantaged position. But I will say that this seed has had it all. There's been a lot of back and forth, a lot of who's making the right call. And it's not over yet. Now, if Sonic is smart, he'll take the Dark World portal with him, since he knows he has to clear Skullwoods after, but does not. So slight inefficiency here.
Scaryolive is going to swamp now, so he will get Ether. Hopefully he'll get that sword. I mean, it's going to be right on his path, so... But...
Yeah. So he'll at least get up to Tempered Sword. And likely stop there, just go mode the rest. sonicam throwing a few sword slashes at the pedestal there. How dare it be a Fire Rod? It looked exactly like a Master Sword hilt. And now I'm sure he's wishing he had brought his Dark World portal with him.
Exactly, yeah. I do like the frustration flashes. I did also appreciate Scaryolive just like staring at the pet in disbelief.
So sonicam at an hour and 39 minutes and a few seconds is the first to truly achieve go mode. Considering this seed really was leading them on a very linear path, there wasn't very many choices up until the last half an hour or so, maybe last hour. it has been a fairly long time, fairly late go mode situation.
And it didn't give them a lot of choices. Like, you can kind of tie all this back to the choice for Scaryolive to break logic and go to Tower of Terror without that fire source, because he went on a wild goose chase looking for those boots.
Yeah, and that's really the big difference. It just goes to show you can never really be sure what's going to be the right call. There are plenty of times where sequence breaking is what makes the difference between winning and losing. Like, the sequence break is what gives you the advantage you need. And in this particular case, it just led you astray. The seed wanted you to follow a pretty straight line from the beginning of the game, and it wasn't until the latter half that it started opening up options. Scaryolive now going straight down, skipping left side. And this is going to pay off. Left side contains just the big key and another sword upgrade. And that will allow him to go back to Ice Palace and just full go mode it. And as you're right, as you were saying, the time he spent dipping into all of these dungeons looking for boots or some kind of progression means that he's basically spending almost twice as much time in them.
And there's go mode for Scaryolive, but yeah, like, I haven't timed it out in my head, but I would imagine that time that he spent walking all the way to Swamp Palace, that's a lot of the difference that we're seeing right now.
Uh-huh. Yeah, he dipped into Swamp Palace, he dipped into Ice Palace, Skullwoods, Palace of Darkness. Like, there were an awful lot of double dips for both runners, but Scaryolive has a few more. And sonicam is on his way into Turtle Rock. True go mode, so he won't be needing to do things like stop at Mimic Cave. Just wants to make sure he's picking up all the necessary keys along the way. So Turtle Rock's one of those dungeons that if you are trying to go fast through it, you can make some critical mistakes. You can't really skip any of the chests along the way because there are so many locked doors. If you're really paying attention, you know when you can stop, but it's very rare that it gives you an opportunity to pick up a lot of time. The biggest time save, of course, is you don't have to go into Mimic Cave.
Yeah, though it does look like they're going to have to pull a vanilla big key today. Oh wait, never mind, I was paying attention.
Yep. So this means that we'll be able to skip the vanilla big key chest. Potentially? I have to wait. Yeah, you'll be able to steal the key from the pokey and move on. So it's either going to contain another key or an item. All these chests have to have keys in them, which is kind of the way you want it because you know what to expect.
Yeah, exactly.
So since he already has the big key, the only other things that sonicam needs are small keys. When he goes into this next area, it steals the key from a pokey. There's no point in going to the vanilla big key chest. It's either not going to contain a key, in which case he'd have to find it elsewhere, or it'll have a small key to replace the one he uses. And so there's really no reason to do so.
Yeah, exactly. We're good on swords. We have silver arrows. We pretty much have everything we need, and that's a frustrating failure right there.
Yeah, it was sitting just out of reach. Now, the one chest you will have to open, and I've seen people forget to do it, is this big key chest on the way back in. So let's hope Sonic remembers that that could hold a small key, and you might want it. Just a cane of Burna today. And we should all recall at this point that there was a time when this was looking like an Agar required seed as well. So it could have had the potential to have our runners do a full and complete clear of the dungeon, but fortunately both of them managed to hold off and pick up that Titan's Mitt to prevent that.
Yeah, that was about the only thing this seed didn't make them do.
Mm-hmm. So while we're waiting and watching sonicam finish up this dungeon, this is just a reminder to everybody, if you like what you're seeing, keep in mind that there's plenty of randomizer action happening and that all of the players and participants in this tournament have been putting on hours and hours of entertainment for all of us here to watch. So if you wouldn't mind, I'm sure that the runners would greatly appreciate it if you would stop by their Twitch channels and throw them a follow. Every little bit helps and lets them know that they're being appreciated for the effort that they're putting forth. So Sonic actually has the opportunity here to do a nice zero cycle on Trinex. Well, looks like he might miss it. Yep, he missed it. Just a little bit too slow. Missing that the second head there. But it is possible to kill Trinex or bring him out of his shell before he even shoots his neck out one time. But no matter. With a few swings of that buttery sword, Trinex goes down, and sonicam has completed all of the crystals as well as all of the pendants. So that means that it is time for us to play the big key guessing game. And although we are not on the Speed Gaming channel today, you certainly can throw your guess in the chat window right now. Where will we find the big key in Ganon's Tower? Pick a number between 1 and 22. Walsh, where do you believe the big key will be located?
I always pick 19. I like to see Ganon's Tower.
All right, I'm going to go with my standby today of number 3. Sorry, Bob. I do like it when you get blocked off your torch. Scaryolive, unfortunately, being dead rocked here on his way up to Turtle Rock.
Yeah, kind of a Murphy's Law dead rock for Scaryolive. Like anything that could have gone wrong for him in the seed kind of did.
Mm-hmm. So sonicam taking a pretty typical standard, going to look right side first, gets chest number 1, has half magic, not a bad pickup to pick up this early on. Gets a key here, which sometimes makes players choose to go right side first, and he is going to do that. So we're not going to see torch as the third check today. Skips by tile room. And we're into our third check now is Blue Mail. A piece of heart for check number 4. Check number 5 is another full heart container, and then the map for number 6.
And we get the pleasant surprise that he was tunic color Link this whole time.
Yeah, we didn't even know. And there it was. Oh, Sonic, why must you do this to us? So unfortunately for all of the rest of you who guessed 3, it turns out the answer was 7. Nice try, Smosism. I saw that. And with that, sonicam begins his final ascent of Ganon's Tower. Going to go through the gauntlet area in a solid commanding lead here in this game 1 of the bracket match between Scaryolive and Sonic.
I do enjoy in the chat. We had one person guess 6 and one person guess 8, so we were very close. If someone had just like gotten into 7 right there.
Well, close only counts in the game of horseshoes, my friends, not in big key guessing game. Unless you're on the speed gaming channels, and then close does count as long as no one else got it. Alright, so it's pure execution now for Sonic with Butter Sword, Silver Arrows, plenty of magic because of that half magic. There's very little standing in his way from completing this in a sub 2-hour timeline. It's going to be close though, and we'll see if he's able to do that.
And that's certainly a nice few seconds of the gauntlet from sonicam there.
And now my favorite room in the entire tower. Feels so good when you one cycle those second whiz robes.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It doesn't matter how many times I've done it. It's still one of those tense moments where you think I might not get it. Sometimes they just misbehave, or that spike gets in the way of your block.
Oh, and Scaryolive made an interesting gamble over in Turtle Rock. Just gambling that either Laser Bridge or this chest has a key, and good to see that paid off for him.
Mm-hmm. Alright, time for Troll Dorm 2, let's see. This time, first time they faced him with Fighter Sword, and that's always slow. This time, Butter Sword, just 2 slashes is all it takes. sonicam telling that chest what he thinks about it, refusing to open it. And
I think he was just demonstrating, you know, like what it takes to do that Moldorm fight, just 2 slashes.
Yep, 2 slashes on the chest.
Yeah.
And we are on Agate 2 fight, hopefully not going to be filled with blue balls. Gets a double on the first one. And a nice lineup here for the second. It looked like a nice triple.
Yeah.
And yes, it was. So a 2-3-1. And with that, sonicam successfully at the Ganon fight. Scaryolive, meanwhile, has a little bit slower time through Trinex because it doesn't have the Butter Sword, but only has 1 pile of ice on the ground and is likely to make short work. And be heading up Ganon's Tower as well. We'll see if Scary chooses the correct path through Ganon's Tower and gets number 3. So you saw there that Sonic pauses a little bit, hesitates before slashing during that phase transition. That's because it isn't until he starts spinning, till Ganon starts spinning his trident, that he'll be taking damage for phase 2. So any slashes before are just a waste of time. And that was a relatively quick phase 3 transition. Oh, taking the double right off the bat. Wants to set up for another double. Looks like he's got it. And with that, sonicam, as long as he's going to be able to navigate this incredibly treacherous 3-tile wide bridge, you never know what's going to happen. It may have slippery ice on it. I don't know. He's going to successfully complete this race and enter the Triforce room with an official Speed Racing TV time of 1 hour, 56 minutes, and 49 seconds. So GG and congratulations to sonicam for getting such a making such great pace through this really obnoxious seed, requiring a pedestal check, hiding some of its items in strange locations. Was a great race.
Absolutely, GG sonicam, way to deal with that mess.
So just as soon as Sonic gets ready, takes a few moments to prepare himself, we'll be pulling him in for a chat. Scaryolive, meanwhile, correctly finding Ganon's Tower key after going the wrong way yet again. And let's welcome Sonic to the channel. GG, congratulations on your victory. How do you feel about that particular seed today?
Hello?
Hello, we can hear you.
Hey, how you doing? So yeah, that seed was pretty bad, and I pretty much really hated it a lot. I think that's probably the best way to
No, completely fair, completely fair.
Absolutely, that is 100% understandable. But tell us, like, how do you really feel about this?
I really hate it. I think it should just burn and you know where. Especially with the fire that I found. That was the last item. Please just burn and go away. It was just horrible. And the thing is that it was really funny because I was actually talking to Scary like before, like when we were trying to schedule the match, and we were talking about this 15-minute the delay thing, and we were both kind of confused about it. So we looked it up or whatever, and he hit me up on Discord and he said, oh, make sure you have your stream up 7:15 because you just got to make sure you got to get it up and running beforehand. And I was like, we were both kind of confused about the stream time. So I'm like, we're going to be running like a little bit, after 7:30. So we were really confused because I have to go to bed like now because I get up at 5:30 EST. So I'm like, 7:30. I'm like, oh, that's great. I'll be done at 9:30. If hopefully it's not a troll scene, maybe I'll be done a little bit earlier, get the interview done and go to bed. And yeah, that just did not happen today. And it was just ironic.
It definitely conspired to be about as circuitous a route through the seed as it could have been.
I think we did 100% it, except finding the book.
Well, you didn't have to do Castle Tower, so Otherwise, we'll find out in a few minutes because we haven't seen your item location count, but it's got to be pretty high. There wasn't any. You didn't get to go mode anything really except Turtle Rock. So, and at least Turtle Rock didn't make you go down Laser Bridge, so there's small benefit, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess. I was not happy to see those 300 rupees, but I mean, I guess it was a blessing in disguise. Seeing here, Fire Ride wasn't there, and I could have been just doing all that stuff just to have to do it all over again, But yeah, I just wasn't happy with the seed at all. It was just like miserable.
I will say that was basically the downfall for Scary. Was a lot of double dips that happened. In reality, the big change pretty much from the start of the seed, where you gained your advantage, was getting into Tower of Hera with the lantern. You didn't sequence break Death Mountain.
Right.
And since Scaryolive did, he wasn't able to go through Hera Basement, which is where you found the boots, right?
Yep. And it's funny because I bet the boots is gonna be here. Yeah, that's why I was thinking should I have sequence broke? Should I sequence broke? Because I didn't find anything in Thieves Town. Powder and Skull didn't have anything. I found a bunch of nothing until I found, I did everything else, did that loop, and I got the lamp. So I'm like, okay, so this probably means, it's either Pod or it's Death Mountain. So I'm like, oh man, if I went up Death Mountain in sequence broke, I bet the boots has got to be up there, and I'm just I missed out on that. So I went up there, I didn't find anything, an old man, and I was so happy when it was, fire locked, well, not fire locked, but there was an item in the basement, and I'm like, I bet that's the boots, and it was the boots, and I'm like, all right, and then that seed just broke open after there.
Absolutely, yeah. You pop in Misery Mire and pick up, I believe, 3 required items in the Mire Shed. Both Mire Shed items, and then Hammer was in Checkerboard.
Yep.
Yeah, and that, as you say, really did open up the seed for you. Gave you access to a whole bunch of. There was some full clearable dungeons. You had Swamp. You had Ice Palace. Now, at that point, we did know we did know. Oh, and as well, on top of that, Desert Palace had boots locked bow, so there was another item. So much happened. But at that point, I was saying we did know from Scary's side that Palace of Darkness was where you wanted to go next. We knew that it had the Ice Rod and whatever else was in there, something else, the cane. Just because Scary ended up dipping that as well on his hunt for the boots. So it really was a very divergent path between the two of you, but it pretty much boils down to that. Not sequence breaking saved you.
Yeah, and it usually kills me, which is funny. Either it really, really helps me a lot, or I just get wrecked, destroyed. I kind of had a feeling, both Pod and EP were pendants, and you got, both pretty, not early, but I mean, fairly early-ish. So I'm thinking, it's got to be behind something. I knew I already did EP, so I got the mirror. That wasn't bow locked, so I already full cleared EP. So should I do Pod? I already had a lot of other options to do, and I wasn't feeling it. And I was really hoping I should have just did EP and just pulled Ped, seeing how the speed is going, but didn't.
That would have been my next question. Were you tempted at that point to, what, I've committed, I've done 2, why not do the 3rd one?
Yeah, it really was. And the big chest in Thieves Town was kind of really irking me too. So I'm I don't know, maybe it's not Ped. Maybe I should just go ahead and just do everything else. And it was really irking me a lot. But, I just didn't work out. And I wish it did.
And then my last, and I don't want to keep you because you said you wanted to go, but my last big question for you was, you get the Fire Rod from Pedestal. Were you thinking that maybe you should bring Dark World access right up to the Ped check, or were you just kind of didn't cross your mind at that time?
Yeah, it really didn't cross my mind at the time. I kind of felt like it had to have been there. There was nothing else for me to do. I was really worried, if it's not here, then I'm gonna forfeit because I have nowhere else I can go. Maybe I missed something somewhere. but I just wanted to just do a beeline, like, please, just let it be here, let it be here. And thank goodness it was there.
Yeah, it was a good. I mean, as troublesome as the seed probably was for you, as frustrating as it would have been, it was a great race. There was a lot of opportunity for either of you to come out ahead. It was really coming down to who would find their go modes items first. But with that, just a final announcement there that Scaryolive has now completed with an official speed racing TV time of 2 hours, 5 minutes, and 23 seconds. Congratulations and welcome to the channel, Scary.
Hello, hello.
Thanks for a great race.
Oh yeah. Congrats, sonicam, and that was a stupid seed.
Yeah, it was really stupid. Oh man, this game is crazy.
I must admit, I thought I had you when I pulled the ped.
Yeah.
But then
And
it
you
wasn't
did
enough.
pull the pedestal before him.
Yeah,
But his fire rod was his go mode item, and yours was ether medallion. So
yeah. I did some scouting before the turn of this round, and I knew sonicam is like way, way, way better than me. Okay, so I know like if I go just by execution, there's no way I win this. So my mentality was, okay, you gotta try everything you can to win, and pedestal was like my my only hope. But I screwed up so much my early game with the great ice play and the boot. Like the boots really killed me.
yeah, we were saying that the big difference between the two of you was that early play up Death Mountain, you sequence broke it, so you had no fire source,
Yeah.
and couldn't do Tower of Hera. Sonic had picked up the lantern when he went.
I tried to I knew it was either it had to be like Zora because it was the last location I had except like that mountain, but I didn't have the money and I was like, well, okay, there's not a lot of like it's so minimal that there's something at the back of the area that's gonna break me, so I'm gonna go there to find money, and yeah, there was $300 in era, so but then when I couldn't go there for a long time after that, I tried to I said like I got to I didn't want to go there because I knew I would lose if it was something there, so I tried to maximize my chance of winning by finding something else, which didn't work.
Man, yeah, that's the worst when it's the boots, man. Like, it's just not fair. Because the boots is a speed item, and it was progression too, so that sucks.
Yeah, it's okay. But I don't know if because I don't know if I would have pulled the pedal. I don't know if I would have pulled the pedestal if I found the boot early, because with my ice play and my swamp palace play and my clear of everything before I find the boots, I was like, okay, like there's no way I'm winning. So maybe I'm gonna try the pedestal, and like if I didn't do that, I would have probably lost by half an hour.
Yeah, I went into EP really early. Like I did that before South Shore, and I only was thinking that because it was a pendant. And I usually don't like doing EP, but I usually like just getting those 3 items from the, back of South Shore. But I don't know, something was telling me, yeah, just do EP. You can try to get that 90 rupees in the back, because we were really struggling with money. Money was kind of hard to come by, and we had the flippers, and I kind of wanted to do everything at once, with the swimming.
I tried when I was to Eastern. I did Eastern pretty early too, and I tried to go in the money room, and it didn't work, and I felt like I was wasting so much time, and I mirrored out. But I think if I did that, I would have gotten the gloves before I go that mountain, and I would have been okay.
Yeah, we did notice that. We saw you trying that, and that was one of the first times I've ever seen a person try to get into the money room in that dark room of Eastern. It would have been really neat if it had paid off. Yes. Yeah,
because I think I was $150 short, and that I think that's like the amount that there's, or almost. So, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I think Sonic, you ended up houlihan rooming to do it. So.
Yeah, I did both. I mean, I know I got some rupees in there, maybe not all of them, but I got some. I mean, it wasn't enough, but yeah, I definitely had to do houlihan because I did everything else, and I'm like, where's the money? So that was kind of like my only option. I was kind of hoping like I wasn't good when I did houlihan. I'm like, please don't put me in escape, because I hate when that happens. But I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah.
I know it's like
never
the camera
practiced the
angle
holy
type of
hand,
thing.
so I don't know how to do it. I have to practice that.
Yeah, I think it's just the camera angle. You just got to make sure you start from Sanctuary and then go up and do it. But it's like the camera angle. It's really
Yeah.
Yeah,
weird.
you have to not be centered, right?
Right.
So, Walsh, do you have any questions to wrap up this interview at this time?
Well, did somebody find the book? Did you find it like the fire as your last item, or you just like blindfold it also as your last location? Or
Yeah, I blindfolded. I'm assuming the book had to have been in GT because it was.
Oh.
I looked everywhere else and I didn't find anything.
and did you clear Ganon's Turtle Rock before finding Fyra? Could you go up there or?
Yeah, I went
That
up
was
there
it?
first. Yeah. But it was fire unlocked by the first chest because it only had
Okay.
it had an item in the first chest, so I knew I couldn't progress
Oh,
there.
that's true.
Dipped out.
Okay.
Yeah, so book had to have been in GT, probably like in Rando Room or something,
Oh yeah.
or Fat Fairy. You know, I don't know.
Oh, I did Fat Fairy.
Oh, you did Fat Fairy. Okay.
I did everything.
Yeah, the seat sucks. I hated it.
Yeah. Well. All right.
So, just a final question, actually. You guys, that was your first game in the matchup. Can you let us know quickly when you're scheduled your second game?
Second
Yeah, I
game
think
is
we're
gonna.
doing.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
gonna
go
be
ahead.
Thursday at 7. Well, it's gonna be at 7:45 for the restream, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So that yeah,
Yeah,
7:45 on Thursday.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So, let's just thanks again for running. It was a great race. Good luck to both of you in the next matchup or the next race. Sorry, and we'll see, Scary, if you can force the game 3, and otherwise,
My
we'll
strategy is known now.
So just a heads up. Just a heads up to all of the viewers. If you're looking for more races taking place right now, there are races taking place on Speed Gaming 4. Solsky versus Couch is happening right now in progress on Speed Gaming 3. Freddy versus Sea Falcon, as well as on A Link to the Past Randomizer 3. Aaron W's versus Number Play is going on, and most recently on Speed Gaming 5, Zyrock versus F. Coughlin just started about 15 minutes ago or so. So lots of Randomizer to watch. Any final words there, Walsh?
No, I just want to thank Scaryolive and sonicam for racing. GG to both of you with a really fascinating race to commentate, and I'll leave the rest of the credits to you, Crowzone.
Alrighty, thanks a lot. So again, just a big thumbs up and thank you to all of the viewers who have been watching today. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be able to put on such a great show. There wouldn't be as many interactions in chat, which are a lot of fun. And so thank you very much for that. On behalf of myself, Crowzone80, and Walsh here, thanks for listening to us. Also, CCX was our tracker today, keeping things lit up on the bottom of the screen. So if you want to, that's Cyber Chaos X. If you want to throw him some love and a follow, I'm sure he'd greatly appreciate it as well. And with that, we are done for this evening. We'll see you in the next race.
See you guys.
Goodbye.
Have a good night.